Welcome to your virtual CFO coach. I'm your host, Leah Torbert, founder and CEO of Harrington Strategic Partners. I've spent my entire career working in the startup world, scaling businesses to multi-seven and eight figures. I built this podcast to share all of that knowledge with you and make your path to success shorter and easier. Tune in each week as I cover topics including financial analysis, cash flow management, holistic strategy, mindset, and more. Now for today's episode. When it comes to taxes, I've always been on the client side, preparing financial statements, pulling supporting documentation, and answering the CPA's questions. I've done this as an employee as well as with my clients when tax time rolls around, but I've never been the tax preparer until now. People ask me all the time whether I prepare taxes, and when I say no, the next question is usually, why not? I never had an interest in becoming a CPA and preparing tax returns. It just wasn't something that screamed fun or interesting to me. I like being in the middle of things and making stuff happen. I never thought I'd be on the CPA firm side of a tax return, but I had the opportunity to do so this tax season, so I tried it out. What could it hurt? If I liked it, I could decide to sit for the CPA exam and add taxes to my list of services, and if I didn't, I'd at least learn a few things to help my clients along the way. Now that tax deadline has passed, I've had some time to think about my experience and I wanted to share it with you. So, my first observation is you are not your CPA's only client. This was my first tax rodeo, so I had no idea what to expect. I only worked on a handful of returns because I was new and learning the process, but I got to see the workloads of the other people in the firm. CPAs and their support teams work around the clock through tax season to file as many returns as they can. This is not a 9 to 5 endeavor. If you turn your information in at the last minute, don't expect a miracle. Your CPA is not sitting idly waiting for you to send your information in. They are processing returns for clients who've already turned their paperwork in and have answered all the questions. Don't demand that your return be filed immediately when you turn your information in the day before the deadline. Ask for an extension and follow up the next week to see when you can expect a draft for review. The tax preparation process can be very involved depending on the complexity of your business. So, when you take a little bit of extra time and you wait to turn your paperwork in, it makes it very difficult for the tax preparer to just turn around and try to get everything done. We do the best that we can, but there are dozens, potentially hundreds, or for some firms, even thousands of returns that have to get filed within a very short period of time. So, my second observation is it's your responsibility to review your own return. CPAs aren't perfect, right? We're people just like everyone else. Whoever is on the tax preparation staff, like someone like me, for instance, who is just learning the process, or even someone who has their CPA and has been doing this for a very long time, we still make mistakes. We get distracted. Somebody comes into our office, we have a phone call, a text message, another email, some new fire happened in the office, and we have to take care of it. So, just remember that you are ultimately responsible to review your return and make sure the information is correct. The firm that I worked with has a review process set up so more than one person looks at the return to make sure things aren't missed or entered in incorrectly. Even so, mistakes do happen. The preparer could have made a mistake, or maybe you forgot to send some information in. I've also seen that as well. So if your preparer asks questions, they aren't trying to irritate you or waste your time. They're doing their best to prepare an accurate return. Returns are prepared only with the information that you provide. And if something is missing or incorrect, this will affect the accuracy of your return. So when you receive your draft return for review, it's your responsibility to review it. Go through each section carefully and make sure all of your tax information has been included. If not, follow up, but please be courteous. As a preparer, we understand that you might have questions. You probably will have questions because taxes are a very complicated thing. It's not straightforward, even though all of us really hope that it would be more so. So we welcome questions. We want to be able to make sure that you understand your returns and everything is good before you sign on that dotted line and confirm that your return is accurate. So please, if you have questions, reach out to your CPA, your tax preparer, and just go through the process until you're comfortable that everything is correct. Third observation, if you filed an extension, don't forget your estimated tax payment. Your CPA can file an extension for you, but that does not extend the due date of your estimated tax payment. You're still responsible for making that estimated tax payment by the original tax filing date. So April 15th or whatever the adjusted calendar day is if it falls on the weekend. Please don't wait until the last day to ask your CPA how much your estimated tax payment is. One of the things that you can request from your CPA based on your prior year return are estimated tax payment coupons that you can use to make payments online throughout the year. Your CPA may also provide these with your return, but if they do not, ask for them. If your current year earnings are not similar to earnings on your last tax return, you can always ask your CPA to put together a new estimate for you in March so your CPA has time to prepare that estimate and you have time to make the payment. In order to prepare that estimate, your preparer does need to have access to the documents that they would be filing with the return. So your W-2s, your 1099s, any kind of other income or expenses, if you have some charitable contributions, all the things that you would normally turn over to your CPA for them to prepare your return, they're going to need to have access to be able to prepare that tax estimate for you if they haven't done one prior based off of your prior year return. So make sure that you have all of your documents together when you request that new estimate from your CPA. That way they have everything they need and they can look at the information and provide the estimate for you so that you can make that payment online and still be in compliance with the IRS, even though you've filed a tax extension. My next observation is to please know your tax deadlines. And there are a lot of them. So I understand that it can be a little complicated and cumbersome to remember them all. But if you own a business, you should know the tax deadlines related to your company structure and your personal return. So, for example, here in Texas, we have to file a federal tax return, we have a franchise tax return, we have sales tax returns, property tax returns, federal and state payroll tax returns, W 2s, 1099 NECs, and 1099 miscellaneous forms, all of which could be applicable to our business depending on what we do. And most of those we have to file one way or the other. Each of these has its own set of requirements, and then every state has its own requirements. Some states have a state income tax, some don't. Some do sales tax, some don't. Some have property tax, some don't. So you have to be up to speed on what your particular state requires. Talk to your CPA and your payroll provider to make sure that all of your taxes are being filed timely and that you're current on your tax payments. I'm going to list some links to some IRS information for you on personal estimated tax payments, business tax information, and IRS tax calendars in the notes for this episode so you can take a look and see what those pages look like and get some information on your own. But I definitely recommend contacting your CPA and your payroll provider just to make sure that everything is being filed when it needs to be with all the information that's required. So, final thoughts. I'm very glad I had the opportunity to work in the tax department and see the other side of the business. I can't say that the tax life is for me, and I won't be adding taxes to my service list in the future, but it's definitely given me some great knowledge to pass along to my clients and incorporate into my planning structure to make tax season easy on my clients and their CPAs as I possibly can. This is always a stressful process for everyone involved. There's a lot of tight deadlines, a lot of information. It may seem like your CPA is just asking for a ton of things, but what they're trying to do is just to make sure that they have all the documentation they need, that your returns are prepared correctly, and that you will be compliant with all the various state and federal entities that are involved in this process. Thanks for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard today, please share with your network and leave a review so our podcast can reach more women and have a greater impact. If you have any comments or additional topics you'd like discussed on the show, let me know. Before you go, connect with me on LinkedIn and let's keep the conversation going.